Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Run Brevard, Running Zone's podcast. And we are back at it here on Zoom. We are still social distancing, just trying to make sure we keep ourselves and our families as healthy as possible, which means that you get to hear Run Brevard on the audio version wherever you listen to your podcast, as well as watch us if you'd like on YouTube and at runbrevard.com. I'm one of your hosts, Katie Parsons, and I want to say hello to my co-hosts, John Carr.
What's up, Katie?
Hey, John. Hi. How's it going with you, John?
It's good.
All right. We're going to loop back because I have some questions for you about CrossFit. So hold tight. And then I wanted to say hi to our other co-host, Pete Vaughn. How's it going, Pete?
It's going. Just running a little bit late today. So thanks for putting up with me as always, guys.
Yeah. So you were running late because you got a haircut, right?
I was running late for a variety of reasons. But yeah, haircut was one of them.
Well, that's good. So that's kind of exciting.
Yep.
Sort of getting back to normalcy kind of thing. I know I haven't gotten my haircut since February. So, maybe I'll work on that since you guys are ahead of me on that.
Yep.
So what else has been going on, Pete?
I've got a walking toddler in the house.
Okay.
Been chasing her around a lot, and we've been pretty busy here in the store, and not too much running. Still kind of dealing with some ab and psoas injury stuff. One of the reasons that I was out and running late today was I was seeing our good friend Jeremy at Top Tier. He was doing some massage and some manual therapy, and I was doing some PNF band exercises, trying to get myself back into to running for him. So, I'm missing kind of the worst time of year to run. So if I had to miss some time to run, then I guess this is all right.
Yeah. Like if you can be back up and at it by October, then you're good.
October.
Definitely, maybe a little earlier. October's good. And John, you've been the opposite. You've been working out a lot, maybe not so much running, but I know I've seen on your Instagram and on your stories some of your CrossFit adventures. How are those going?
Yeah, they're good. I'm still enjoying it. Go about 4 days a week typically. So try and take a couple rest days throughout the week, and then I usually take off Saturday, Sunday, and then get back to it on Monday. So trying to. Some days are really hard, and I'm definitely looking forward to those days off after. But so yeah, I'm trying to keep at it. But yeah, definitely not running as much right now. But I think you're not quite like that. You've been. Would you do 13 miles or something the other day? Half marathon?
Yesterday. I know. Crazy. I'm running like crazy, and it is so hot. But at some point, you just don't even notice it. I think. I get home and I just jump in the pool usually because why not?
That's awesome.
Got to cool off somehow. I actually do that before I come inside because it's just so gross. It's not just the heat, as Space Coast runners know, it's the humidity for sure. So even if the sun's not out, you're sweating so bad. But I think a lot of runners are like this. I just go through spurts where I am just in love with running, just have to run every day. And then spurts where it's really a chore or I'm just not doing it. So for whatever reason right now, I am just loving to run. So hopefully that means by the fall, I'll be a little faster because once the temperatures drop, I'll have gotten a lot of miles in those hot months. But, we'll see. We'll see between now and then. And this is a funny story about John and his CrossFit. He posted a picture of his hands after a workout on his stories. And I thought, when I looked at it really quickly, I thought he had a tooth in his hand. And I thought he knocked the tooth out when he was doing CrossFit. I was very alarmed, but it was just skin, right?
Yeah, it was a callus.
Right? A callus, yeah.
That had ripped when doing some bar stuff. So
how are we doing today?
Oh, it's getting better. It's getting better. It's still there, but it's I have trimmed all the excess callus off, so I'm just waiting for it to fully heal back up.
And Pete, you mentioned that Amelia is walking now, and I would say, based on what I saw on social media, also, she kind of went from pulling herself up to running. It was once she decided, that was it. She was all over the place.
She's got one speed. It's full speed all the time.
Yep. I know. It's a funny thing
already. So.
Oh, good. Yeah. She's, she looks like she's enjoying being mobile. That's for sure.
A little too much for my liking.
I know. And it's like, you can't take it back. Once they know how to do whatever it is, whether it's the talking, whether it's the walking. I know with Erin, my daughter Erin, she spoke really late. And so we were all worried about it. And then once she did speak, she was like telling everybody, like, their hair looked bad, or, it's time to get up. You're sleeping too much, mom, or whatever. And one day I was like, who taught her how to talk? Like, who did this? This is not a good idea. So, just those milestones are fun, but sometimes us as parents aren't quite ready when they happen.
Yep.
But, so what else is going on? Have you guys been able to like get out at all? If you do go out, are you like hanging out outside? What are you up to, John?
Not really hanging out, out and about too much. I think we'd gotten to the point where it looked like everything was getting okay. And then the past, I don't know, week or two, I mean, things have just been exploding again. So don't, I try and not go out if I don't have to. Just go to the grocery store and stock up for the week. And most of the time just spent inside, if I'm or if not at work or not at the gym, then I'm sitting right here mostly.
What about you, Pete?
Yeah, working a lot and doing the yard and pretty much my activity. Laura does most of the grocery shopping. We tried some Instacart stuff and she wasn't happy with the produce selection. So I think we'll be braving the crazy times of Publix, and hopefully we go down the right way on the aisle and don't get attacked.
Don't get in trouble with other shoppers. Yeah. I actually really like the one-way aisle. I hope they keep it, only because it just in general keeps it less congested. But I've definitely a few times already gone the wrong way. And then I feel really bad because I'm like halfway down the aisle before I figure it out. I'm all for it, but
I was there today.
Messed it up.
Somebody was walking the wrong way down the aisle, but pushing the cart backwards so that the cart was facing the right way, but he was walking the wrong way. And I don't know if he thought that made it okay or he was trying to be funny, but yeah.
Wow. So. Maybe I'll try that next time I realize I'm like the wrong direction and see if that works. See if I don't get any like glares for that one. Yeah. I'll give it a try. Well, you both mentioned the store because obviously you've been in the store working. So what's the latest on the store? What's going on with opening and closing and hours and curbside and everything?
Still open regular hours, still offering curbside, still doing the online orders, doing free shipping still, doing everything that we kind of started doing during the closure. But, still having the regular store hours as well. Seems to be working out pretty well. We still have the benches kind of spread apart and no major issues so far. So knock on wood, we keep going on that track. And, there's a lot of new people coming in, which is awesome. And people, I say new people, but people maybe that haven't run before or started walking during this, or they, haven't done it since, high school or college or something. So a lot of, the whole reason why we're here, we get to do every day. So and that's getting people in the right shoes to get them active, and whether it's during a pandemic or during normal times. So it's been fun to kind of see everything kind of come full circle. We always kind of talk about, people need to get moving, people need to get active. And then, we have all these new people coming in that are trying to start running our walking program. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That people haven't really had other things they could do. And thankfully here in Florida, at least when this first started, it wasn't quite as hot. So I think a lot of people maybe started new routines then that they're carrying along now. I mean, a person, if you think about it, a person who got new running shoes back in March would be due, for their next pair now. running or walking or whatever their new routine might be. So it's crazy to think that this has been going on that long already, but it's just kind of like a blur to me. And then I know there's still some new products in, if either of you want to talk about that, and actually some 4th of July stuff too.
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, we do have the Firecracker 5K, the first of our race series coming up this weekend. So we do have a lot of 4th of July apparel in the store right now and shoes. So we got Brooks Launch and Adrenaline in a fun USA color. We've got Features USA printed socks, Saks underwear that's 4th of July themed, and did a reprint of the Running Zone Land That I Run shirt on some nice tech tees. So something you can, wear casually, or you can go out and take it for a run, nice and breathable. And we did also recently reprint some Run Brevard shirts. So we got a sweet ladies tank. It's a white tank. It's kind of got a sunset with a palm tree on it. And then the men's, we get that nice neon color, so you can wear it in the morning or at night when you're running, and can be seen. And then as far as new products, we've got new from Brooks, the Hyperion Tempo. I'm sure we can ask our guest later tonight about this shoe a little bit more, and he can expand on it. But entirely new midsole from Brooks, super lightweight, kind of a faster feel to it. So it's definitely a cool thing to add to the wall. Along those lines, another kind of faster, kind of everyday wear shoe, the Endorphin Shift from Saucony in a really cool white mutant color is what they're calling it. They're doing a lot of different mutant colors throughout the year, and I think it looks super sick. And then also from Saucony, the new Ride 13. So some new shoe updates. If you haven't had a chance to try them, come in, ask for a pair. We'd be happy to grab them for you.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Firecracker 5K, which is the kickoff to the Running Zone Foundation series, the 7-race series. And I know we talked about this a little bit last month, but people are really starting to get excited about the series, I think, especially with some changes for the coming year. The Firecracker 5K, as well as the other 6 races, can all be done virtually this year if you prefer. And you still get a finisher medal, which is also new. It used to be just the finisher medal after all 7, but you'll get one for every race you sign up for this year. And if you do complete all 7, you get a pretty sweet beach towel, which I'm definitely going for. I signed up everyone in my family because I want 7 beach towels.
A whole lot of laundry right there.
So my linen closet is ridiculous. It's got so many towels, as well as my washer and dryer all the time. Because first of all, just normally, but now with the pool, and then friends come over, and it's a lot of stuff. But Denise had given me some Space Coast Marathon towels that were extra when we first got the pool. So we have maybe 15 of those. So it's funny because if people swim here, they'll come back, a few days later, and they'll hand us a Space Coast Marathon towel. I think this is yours. I'm like, yeah, that's ours. Thanks. But it's a lot of fun. So what else do people need to know about the Firecracker 5K? Let's remind them what's different this year.
So when you registered, you were asked for an expected finish time, and we were doing kind of a corral system, staggered start based on that. So we've got 6 10-minute periods to make up our hour-long start. I think the first window is like 14 minutes to 25 minutes, and it goes on from there. So basically, whatever time you signed up with, you're going to get assigned a start time, and we're asking people to stay in their vehicles or stay away from the race site until it's their turn to start. And you can start anytime within that 10-minute period. So, things are going to be a little bit different, obviously. We are not doing any race day packet pickup or registration. We're doing that all week here in the store. We're going to have everything kind of spread out a little bit more at the race site more than usual. We're not doing the awards there. You can pick up your awards if you're lucky enough to win one here at the store. And everything will just be a little bit different. But I think based on the protocols we drew up with the city and with the police and traffic department, I think, we can pull this off where the people are still able to come and do the event, and we can follow all the guidelines. We'll all be wearing masks, obviously. We won't have our famous beer truck. We will be handing out individual cans of beer and individually wrapped bagels and bottled water. So still giving the participants something after the race, just kind of following best available safety guidance at this point, and hoping to kind of get back to, I won't say normal, but a more normal feel for the second race in August, Tailgate 2 Mile.
Yep.
Okay.
And then, of course, like we mentioned, anyone who doesn't want to come out and participate in person, you're still going to get your finisher medal. You're still going to get your t-shirt, and you can complete it virtually. And it still counts to your 7-race series beach towel. So it checks that box for you, which it's a really great option. And we're seeing, decent amount of people take advantage of that as well. Especially, it gives a little bit of flexibility because, hey, I'm actually out of town for the 4th. I won't be able to make it, but you can still, complete it virtually and, still count for your series participation. So that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even within my own family, we have factions doing virtual and factions doing the event because, it just, my little ones, I don't think can do it the whole thing in the heat, but they could probably run it with me, so it's nice to have that flexibility and everyone gets the same medal. And if they do the race, everyone gets the same towel. So I know I'm really excited about it. Plus the medals are so beautiful. I can't wait to get all these medals. I like the one I think it's a tie between the zoo one with Rafiki on it and then the Jingle Bell 2 miler. I love that one.
A lot of people are liking sparkly. The Jingle Bell one. Did you see the one I posted up there today? Which was Run for the Gecko? It's a cupcake.
No. Oh, you know what? I didn't. But I think Laura might have showed me that one when I was in there, and it was like sparkle sprinkles or something.
It's gonna look good.
That one's A+. I like those. So so if you still want to sign up and you are watching this before the end of the day on Thursday, July 2nd, you can still sign up online, either virtual or the event. After that, Friday, you can sign up in the store. And as John mentioned, we won't have any race day, packet pickup, or registration, but you can still sign up. So hopefully we'll see all of you out there and at all the other race series races as well.
Well, we're going to pause here for a second. We're going to get Matt here, and we're going to continue the conversation from there.
All right. So we are thrilled to be joined today by someone that I've been able to work with for a long time in this industry and with Brooks. And Mr. Matt Weiss is the Director of Marketing and Runner Engagement with Brooks Running. How are you, Matt?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. So, we were just talking about our event that we have that, fingers crossed, everything's going to go well. Brooks is, of course, still a sponsor of that event, as we kind of started with you in some of your previous roles with Brooks. And I think, one of the things that stands out to, I think, most customers, at least in our store, is that Brooks is really about engaging the runner. So your title is very apropos of that. And it's harder now, obviously, that we can't have events all the time, and we can't be reaching runners directly all the time. And I'm sure from your end of the spectrum, it's even harder from a corporate level. How have things been for the last couple of weeks, and what changes have you seen on your end?
Yeah, it's things have been up and down, right? I think for everybody, there was just a ton of uncertainty at first, and honestly, there still remains uncertainty. There's some events that have canceled, some events that have postponed. So, I think we're trying to approach things as rationally as possible, make really smart decisions. But the playbook has definitely been adjusted. We had a real good sense of oh, this is what you need to do and for an event or for an in-store activation. And all those things have changed. So I think what we're trying to work on first and foremost is, okay, well, how are we keeping our team safe and keeping everybody healthy? And then secondly, what can we do to try to connect with runners where and when they run, which is really, kind of our mission as a brand. So that's sort of where we're at from a company standpoint. The interesting thing is whether it's, you're seeing it, sort of anecdotally just on the trails or streets where you live, or, we're getting tons of data. More people are running now than ever before. So we're in the midst of this like quasi running boom spurred by COVID-19. And we're seeing participation increase, which is great. There hasn't been, a surge in participation like this in a really long time. So we're trying to figure out, okay, one, like, what does this mean? Who are these new runners? And how do we reach them and connect them to our brand and connect them to where we're sold? So, it's sort of this rapid prototyping we're doing in terms of trying to figure things out on the fly, trying to figure out how we can do it. So that part of the challenge has been fun for us in the sense that, we're getting to do new things and we're getting to try some new stuff. There are certain things that we had talked about for a while that we really, really accelerated. And that we brought to market sooner than we thought we would. But yeah, it's a learning for sure in terms of what are the right ways to engage with people. And the other thing we're seeing, right, from a U.S. standpoint, but globally as well, is every market's different. And so what works one day here might not work on the same day somewhere else. And so scaling programs is more challenging than, it's been in the past.
Yeah, every day is an adventure. And, we kind of say that all the time around here, at least with retail and with race management. But right now, it just feels like everything's on fast forward sometimes. And, you're just trying to keep up with everything. So I think probably most of the people listening to this are familiar with Brooks at this point. But can you give a brief, just kind of once over on the company and how everything has come to, how Brooks got to where they are today?
Sure. So we'll do the quick deep dive here. So Brooks was founded in 1914 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So we've been around for a really long time. And, in its early days back then, footwear manufacturers used to make shoes for all sports because you had to keep the factory working. So you were making baseball cleats, and then you were making basketball shoes and football cleats, ice skates, bowling shoes, whatever the season needed, you were making. And so most of the sort of older classic sport brands grew up making shoes for all sports. And that was what Brooks did. And even into the 70s and into the 80s, we had baseball cleats and football cleats. And around our building, we have all these like kind of old school posters of various football and baseball players wearing our stuff. And it led to a really bad business. And so the 80s and the 90s were rocky days for Brooks. And in early 2000, we got a new CEO who remains our CEO. And he really looked at the business. And, at that point, we had really two shoes that were any good and profitable, I should add, which were the Addiction and the Beast. And so he kind of said, you know what, all we're going to do is performance run. We're going to scrap the rest and we're going to start building out. And his vision was that performance run is sort of this timeless category, and people are always going to be dedicated to the run, and they're always going to want really good shoes. And if you're really committed and building good product, you're going to have this audience. And so starting in about 2001, that was our strategy, and more or less it remains our strategy today. We're a performance run brand. We don't do footwear or apparel for anything else. Obviously, some of our stuff you can wear for kicking around in or other stuff, but at its core, we are a real performance run brand. So we try to ensure that we're making product for all who run. So sizes, biomechanical needs, all of that. And so, we're constantly tinkering and evolving the product line to really ensure that we're delivering every experience that a runner could want. And same on the apparel side, really building out that line to ensure that we're delivering what they need. But at its core, yeah, we are driven by performance run. And I'd say like the heart and soul of the brand is like the starting line of a race. We want to be your trusted, brand that you're going to select on race day to go test whatever it is you're trying to achieve.
I think, and then the Run Happy idea that has been around for a while now, and that just kind of, I don't know too many other brands that like their slogan or their like tagline. I don't know how many other brands like really just perfectly match up with what they say they want to be, and all the stuff that goes into Run Happy, at least from our perspective, and then outward facing the consumer. It just seems to make so much sense almost all the time. So I give a little bit of background on where Run Happy came from and what it means from corporate and what it means to you.
Yeah, a brand is, it's kind of like it's a living organism, and so, what the brand stands for really should come to life and shine through every touch point of that brand. And so, Run Happy for us was, it is kind of the ethos and the root of our brand. And the reason we like it so much is, right, it's not run easy or run hard or, Run Happy is very much about what it means to you. It's about your journey. And for somebody, it might be their first run, their first race or whatever. For somebody else, it could be, a 100-miler. It's really personal and it's really about what you are. We see Run Happy at the pinnacle of the sport when our athletes, achieve something, and we see it every day at our retailers, selling someone their first pair of running shoes. We really genuinely believe in the power of the run and that every day is better if you're running. And so that permeates through everything we do. And so Run Happy for us started as a campaign and actually went away. We did some other campaigns, and there was just this real groundswell of, no, like that's more than just a campaign. It's really who we are. And so it came back, and now it's just sort of permeates, I would say, everything we do, to the point where, if we're looking at a new expo booth or an activation, it's like, well, is that Run Happy? And there's not really a clear definition on exactly what that means. There's definitely some people who have the pulse a bit better than others. But for us, it's really about, is that uniquely Brooks? Is that capturing what we believe and kind of bringing it to life? And so that's Run Happy for us at this point is almost like a foundational block that kind of everything is built on, and across all of our divisions.
So tell us a little more about yourself now too. Like I always love to hear what brought people to the run specialty industry. Where are you from? How did you start running? What brought you to Brooks?
Yeah, I like long walks on the beach, nights in front of the fireplace, and sushi. I grew up as a runner. I was like a high school runner, big running nerd. My father owned a business, and when I was 16, I had to work for him or get a real job. Or I shouldn't say a real job. What he had was a real job, but I had to work for him or I had to get a different job. And so there was a running store near where I lived. And so I went there and I got a job, and I was 16 years old. It was great. I think I was making minimum wage, but I didn't care because I wasn't working for my dad. And like the third day there, a sales rep came in. It was like an adult sales rep selling, I think it was the Nike rep. And I was like, wow, that's a job that I can have. And so that was kind of it. And once I realized like this was a thing I could do as an adult, that was about it. So I worked at the running store through high school and college, finished college, and started looking for like a tech rep job with one of the run brands. And back then there weren't as many programs as there are now. There weren't as many people looking for jobs either. So it's probably a different ballgame, but Brooks was hiring at the time we were called brand warriors. We weren't even gurus. So Brooks was hiring for a brand warrior, and I started that position in New York. I grew up in New York. I should have mentioned that. And so I started as a was a brand warrior, and I did that for about 2.5 years. About halfway through, we became gurus. So it was a very seminal moment for the brand. And for those who don't know, gurus are our tech reps. I should probably give that disclaimer. But so we're now to about 30 of them. At the time, there were like 6 or 7. So I did that. And then I was lucky enough that a position opened up out in Seattle in 2008. I moved out and I worked on our sales team for a while. So I was, even though I was living in Seattle, I was the East Coast sales manager. So I flew a lot. I came back to your neck of the woods a lot. And so I did that for a few years and had a couple different roles within the sales department. And then I moved over to marketing about 4 years ago. And I've done a couple different things there. But I'm enjoying kind of just seeing different sides of the industry and having a couple of different opportunities.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
I was just going to have Brooks has they've found some lifers, like other industries like baseball. You have guys that are lifers, and there's a lot of people on the executive team at Brooks that have been there for a pretty long time, and I think that makes obviously the company stronger. But talk a little bit about what it's like in the building, I guess, even though you're not in the building right now, but there's so many people that have just been there and were involved in the creation of this. And now that it's become what it's become, there's a lot of experience there and there's a lot of different backgrounds. And how does that help or what does that make Brooks really good at?
Yeah, I think it cuts both ways. So I think one of the things that it's great for is, kind of this, so let me start by saying, I think the reason most of us have stuck around is one, the brand's grown a lot and we've been able to really grow with it. And secondly, I think we all believe in the mission of the company, right? Which, really hasn't deviated, right? Which is we want to make the best running product in the world. We want to get it on runners and we want to kind of do it in the right way. And so that's, I think, what's kept us all around is that, that this mission is still viable. And I'd say, from a brand perspective, like there's some tremendous athletic brands out there. The big brands that we all know. But I think there's an opportunity to become the running brand. Like when people think of tech, they think of Apple or, whatever. There's all these cliche brands by category. There is no one who's become the running brand. When you think about running, it's just synonymous with that brand. And I think that's what fuels us all is like, how do we get to become the running brand? That whether you run or not, when you think of running, you think of Brooks. And I'd say that's kind of the mission that keeps us all there. So I think the plus side of it is that we've got some people who are incredibly passionate and committed to this, and that infuses into the company, and it's a unique mindset I think that we have in terms of like where we're trying to go and what we're trying to do, and I think having people who've been around for a while kind of get that sort of like. We are different, and kind of wear that as a badge of honor in terms of just how we want to do things. Like we're geeky about what we do. We take what we do really seriously. We don't take ourselves too seriously. So I think that sort of mindset really comes through. And I think those of us who have been there a while have helped to establish it. I think the downside is, you don't know what you don't know. And so what we've seen over the last few years is, and I think what's really fueled our continued success is that we've had to go bring in outside experts and help us, whatever the category is. And some of it's the consumer facing stuff. Some of it's behind the scenes, like logistics. Like, sometimes you just need people who are really, really good at this stuff to help you operate the business. And so I think it's that blend that, our leadership team is really striking to find, right? We want to keep the culture that we have and nurture the people who are there. At the same time, you got to figure out those spots where it makes sense to bring in people from the outside to kind of bring that expertise and help us to where we need to be. So I think at our best, we do a pretty good job at it, but it's something you're constantly working on because things are changing and evolving and the business has to go with it.
And what I was going to say is that you mentioned earlier how we're seeing this kind of interest, this upped interest in running and getting outdoors, walking even. But I know Brooks has been really doing a lot of social efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you talk a little bit more about that, ways you're connecting with the community and really trying to reach out during this time?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, just how long we've been doing this like that. Some of the stuff feels like years ago, but it was only a couple of months ago. But yeah, no, I mean, there's obviously been just a tremendous impact on our regions and our partners and kind of people who are supporting the world. And Seattle was one of the initial kind of areas that was hit hard by this. So I think for our company, it definitely the initial impact was pretty profound. Like there was a lot in kind of the Seattle area that happened. And so, we were shut down probably before some other cities. And it just felt like we were a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of just feeling the impact of it. And the impact to our hospitals was pretty profound out here. And so right away, we kind of realized like, oh, we need to do something for these healthcare workers on the front lines. We started talking about all the things we couldn't do because races are canceled, stores are closed and all that. But this was really cool because it was something we could do. And so we really rallied behind, okay, how can we give back to people on the front lines? And it was a need globally. So our partners in EMEA did it as well. And for us, it was a program that, I think we gave away 40,000 shoes in like 25 minutes. It was really, really fast. There was an online form that healthcare workers could fill out. And, we anticipated it being pretty popular, but I think it even exceeded our wildest dreams. But it was awesome. We didn't change the world, but I think, we did our part to make sure that we were kind of helping people get some good shoes and especially folks who were doing a lot and working really hard. And so we did that. It was really successful. And then we did it a second time. And at that point, we were able to involve our retail partners as well. And that was important to us because the first time I think everything happened, it was, everything was shut down. It was kind of this hectic moment. And by the time we went back, we were seeing our retail partners kind of, they were feeling things in their communities, and they were trying to figure out how they could help. And so for us, it was really nice to be able to do something again, but also work with our local partners and really extend what we were doing. Not just, we have a reach nationally, but all of our retailers are so embedded in their communities and they're kind of these pillars in their world. And so it was great to partner with them to kind of extend this where they were. So that was probably the most enjoyable thing that we've gotten to do during this time, because it felt like, okay, like we can actually, make an impact and do something positive here and try to help out. So that was a cool project. It was a lot of work, and even just functionally for us, like shipping out that many single pair orders was unique. So there was a lot of little things we had to work through, but it was a great moment for the team.
John is our resident official shoe nerd, and I don't know if you remember this from running event because that feels like 19 years ago.
He was one of the beats.
Yes, the Pure Beats.
Yeah.
I told him if anyone would appreciate it, Matt Weiss would appreciate it.
Yeah. It's funny, that is such a bad shoe. I put it on the other day just to like walk. Like I was probably pacing around on a phone call and I put them on. I made it like 4 steps and I took them off. I was like, this is why we didn't sell it.
I wore them to the store like maybe a few weeks ago, like just on a random Friday. I was like, no one's going to know what this is. But I do follow.
No one did.
No, not had any idea. It probably took half the day for anyone to figure out like what I was wearing anyway. But I do follow you on Instagram, and you have posted quite a few shoes that are either like very unique or just things that Brooks like never went through with making. And one of the ones that really stood out to me was the pink dolphin collab.
Yeah.
That was really sick, and I'm really bummed that I missed out on that. Actually, that jacket also looked really awesome.
Yeah, the jacket the jacket's really, really hard to come by. So I don't know how many of those are made. The shoes, yeah, the Heritage line was fun for us. So there's a bunch of those out there that we got to have some fun with. So I'm glad you enjoyed them.
So I probably won't find them at Ross like I did the Pure Beat, right?
God, I hope not. No. I don't think we made as many. So, hopefully we got to move through all those. But yeah, they should be gone.
So let's talk about a shoe that you are making and did make, and something that we've had a lot of really positive feedback on so far that we just got at the beginning of the month was Hyperion Tempo. And I know you've had that in your personal lineup, I think, for a little bit. And a lot of people that I know that, are familiar with running, whether they're in the industry or they're just customers, a lot of people put that shoe on and they're impressed immediately. Talk about how that shoe got made and where it stands in the line and your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best shoe we've made in a long time, one man's opinion. Hyperion Tempo is really, really nice. It's really hard to make shoes. You get a lot of people working really hard to make a good shoe. And there's just something that works about it. The foam, obviously the midsole foam, that DNA Flash is kind of the key to it all. And that was something that the team, they're always trying to work on, I'd say, next level technology and how to move us forward. And they're experimenting with a ton of different things. And so, but that was something for us that we really unlocked something there, because it's super light, but cushioned and responsive. And it just feels really balanced under your foot. So, we've thrown it in a couple different shoes at this point. And it just works really well. So we've got a shoe coming out called the Catamount later this summer. That's like a trail version of the Hyperion Tempo, but real similar tooling. And same thing. It just the foam's really, really good. They've done a good job where, sometimes the midsole is really light, then you throw this heavy upper on it, and just kind of the balance is off. But it's balanced really, really well. It's funny. I mean, it's $150 lightweight trainer, so it's not necessarily this shoe that you expect to kind of run in all the time or get a lot of volume out of. But most people I know who have them are wearing them a lot. And the durability has been pretty surprising. I don't know how many miles I got out of my first pair. It was a lot though. And I was surprised by it. And I mean, even up until the very end, it was still rode and felt really good. So, I'm excited to see the evolution of that foam, how it filters its way through the rest of the line, and the other things that we can do with it, because you get something like that works really well, and it just unlocks a bunch of different things for you.
Yeah, it was really cool to see, kind of get the first hands-on feel of that at the Hyperion House in the Marathon Trials weekend, and to actually kind of see kind of version 2 on Dez's foot that weekend too was it stood out. I was on the bridge at one point trying to get slow-mo shots of the runners coming by, and I'm at one point I'm like, wait, that's not the release Hyperion Elite. What is going on here? And I'm excited to see version 2 of that.
Yeah, I mean, it was so much work to get the Hyperion Elite one out. And as we're going through it, we kind of discovered this new foam, and it just rode really well, and everyone who wore it really liked it. So we were like, oh, well, let's put this into this shoe and see what happens. It was kind of like, and it worked really well, and the wear test feedback from our elites was really strong, and then the lab feedback was really good. So Hyperion Elite 2, September 1st. That's a plug. Should be really, really good. We're kind of, there's a lot of science behind those shoes. And certainly at $250, I understand that you're paying a lot of money for this product. So it's got to be something that we're really continuing to innovate and push on and constantly deliver kind of this sort of tip of spear product. So it should be cool. It's again, like the feedback on that's been awesome. So it should be really nice, and hopefully we've got races coming up that people can wear them for and test them out. So that'll be a good world to be in.
So how about you? Are you doing more running or less running right now?
This is sort of a sad commentary on my job, but I'm doing more running than I've probably done in like 13 or 14 years. I'm not traveling. I'm working from home. And so, I can just be way more consistent than I've ever been before. It's funny, like I'm eating better, I'm sleeping better. Like this is, it's like, man, maybe the job wasn't healthy for me. But yeah, it's been nice. That's been the one probably upside of all of this on a personal level, is that I've been able to just to run a lot more, run consistently. There's a lot of days where like the run is the highlight of my day, and it's just tricky right now. And so having that's been nice. And the other thing is like our weather's in a really good spot, and we're kind of crazy daylight right now, just being where we are. So it's such a nice time of year to be able to have that as well. So it's been kind of a nice balance these last few months.
That's awesome. And like when you're running, are you always wearing production released shoes, or do you wear like stuff that's not out yet sometimes?
I used to know a lot more people on the wear test team. So if they're listening, I'm keeping score. But like, I will occasionally get stuff that's like a few months from coming out, but I don't get any of the cool stuff anymore.
Gotcha.
So like I have that trail shoe that's coming out in September, but a bunch of people have it. So yeah, no, my days.
I almost ordered one last week. That white upper with the blue midsole looks sick.
Yeah. The thinking, right, is that like you're going to get it dirty on the trail, so it kind of like tell your story in the mud. And it does look cool when you get it dirty. Like, so maybe it's true, but yeah. So I don't have anything good. I'm wearing Adrenaline 20s and Hyperion Tempos right now. So nothing too sexy.
Is the GTS your go-to shoe?
To be honest with you, that's a good pun. I have struggled to find kind of that second shoe. So like Hyperion Tempo is great when I'm running hard or doing anything fast, but kind of like on my recovery days, I'm vacillating right now between Ghost Glycerin and GTS, just trying to find the right shoe. They all kind of work. And so I used to be able to wear anything any day and not care. And I turned 40 this year, and all of a sudden I'm getting real picky. So I don't know. But yeah, no, the GTS, and actually the what are we on, Glycerin 18 is really good. So I'm wearing that a lot.
Nice.
So let's step outside of Brooks for a minute. And what are some brands, or not even necessarily brands, but maybe shoe releases or any other item that we might, or any running specialty retailer might sell? What stood out to you in the last 6 years 6 months, feels like 6 years, but something that has caught your eye as, someone in the know that you're like, they might be onto something here?
Oh boy. That's a tough one. I think, so much of the arms race around the carbon plates and all of that has been sort of fascinating to be a part of, but also watch and just see how every brand is reacting to it, and how they're incorporating it, what they're doing. I mean, it's funny. You got like 3 brands coming out with shoes this week, which is interesting because there's not a race in sight. So there's just a lot of interesting kind of innovation coming there. And then I think on the kind of core training component, I think, again, it's funny. I think we try to watch everybody and be aware of what everyone's doing. At the same time, I think we're pretty laser focused on kind of our world and what are the things we can do to make ourselves better. So it's this weird thing where your head's on a swivel a little bit, looking around you, but at the same time, we're kind of focused internally on all of that. So, I mean, I think we're certainly aware of all the stuff that's going on and what's out there. I'm trying to think. I'm copping out a little bit in terms of coming up with an answer to your question.
Is there something you see in particular becoming like the next arms race? Like obviously like foam was a big thing for a while, and then it was carbon plated shoes. Is there something you're seeing coming up? Obviously, Brooks kind of started their own kind of switching up the stability category, a few years back with the guide rail system. Have you seen other brands start to pick that up as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think, kind of this evolution of stability will continue because I think you're getting, our ability to understand what's happening on the kinetic chain just continues to improve. And so how you address that how companies address it, what they can do will continue to be a thing. I think it'll be interesting, right? We talked about all these new people coming into running. What is it that they're going to want over the next, year to 2 years? Are they going to get hurt and need certain shoes to address that? So a lot of, the runner is really what drives all of this, right? The runner's super curious. And that's why you see things like minimal, kind of really happen in running. And then 4 years later, we've got these maximal shoes. And then, the pendulum kind of finds the middle. So, I think it'll be interesting kind of where the runner goes from here. I mean, you can start thinking about like our ability to learn about ourselves is growing ever greater, right? Whether it's like the DNA test that people can take, or whether, your watch has more information on it than like anything you had 4 or 5 years ago. So like, are we going to head to a place where like, you'll be able to tune your shoe based on your day, or your shoe will, adapt automatically to what you need, and so I think those are kind of, I think those are the things that we're thinking through, and that, but so much of it is going to be, just driven by the consumer and what it is that they're looking for, what it is that they want, need, and how are the companies going to be able to deliver that? And injury prevention is kind of the number one thing I think that every runner is looking for, and obviously kind of building that into footwear and how does it manifest and what are people looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I think John and I have had a lot of conversations the last couple of weeks about like all the new people coming in right now, and like, people or new people or people that haven't done it in a really long time. And they're like, oh man, I just went out and ran 5 miles and my legs are killing me. And like, well, when's the last time you ran? 30 years ago? Oh, well, there's things we can do for that, but at a certain point, running hurts. There's a learning curve to running. So we'll see how that plays out in the next 6 months to a year. Cause every day's something different and we really don't know what we're going against and what we're going to be dealing with, next week versus 6 months from now. But,
what's interesting is like, most people who come into running come in for like a reason. like they're training for their first half or full, or they bet someone that they could do this race, or it's health and wellness and they want to lose weight or whatever reason. And now you're going to be people coming to the sport at a time when a lot of those things are off the table. And so they're coming into running just to run, right? For the mental benefits or for the, the time outside or whatever it is. So we're not only seeing a lot of people come into running who've never run before, but they're, sort of like initial motivation is just fundamentally different. And so it would suck if all these people got hurt and quit running. I think the hope is that, that they're able to get over the hump and stay healthy and persevere through it. And but yeah, it'll be really interesting to see, 6 months from now or a year from now, and hopefully things are back to normal. Are they doing racing or are they not? And what comes of all these virtual runs and all of that. So it'll be really interesting to see those new folks and how they navigate this running journey.
And Matt, I know you said you're obviously not traveling right now, but I assume you have to travel a lot for the job. So what are some of your favorite places that you've traveled for work? And also, what are some of your favorite places that you've run around the country or around the world?
So my favorite places to travel, always like Michigan, very underrated state, beautiful.
I was born in Michigan. I was born in Grand Rapids, so
I like Michigan. I like cities because they have I can do stuff there, but there's also lots of options food wise and things like that. So let me. So I grew up in New York, so I was in New York. I love Boston. Boston's a great running town. Let me think. What else? Southern California, I've always liked. I'm really all over the place with this question. Favorite places
everywhere in the whole world is where you like to go.
No. I hate to say this. I genuinely, my trips to Florida were always painful. So I will not say Florida, but I was going to try to keep that out. My favorite places to run, in all honesty, I'm a real creature of habit, so I like doing the same. I can run the same run every day because I like to know exactly where I am relative to everything else. So I'm not a huge explorer. So my favorite places to run are going to be pretty boring, but near where I grew up, there was an amazing park to run in. If you're ever just north of New York City, the Rockefeller Preserve is amazing. It's 50, 60 miles of groomed carriage trails. It's absolutely unbelievable. Also in New York, Van Cortlandt Park. I raced there a ton in high school. I love Van Cortlandt Park. Yep. So yeah, and then I love running on trails, but not super technical trail. So I want to be able to wear a road shoe, but get out on trail kind of trail. So I would say that's it. So. And I've come to also just loathe humidity. So at this point in my life, I'm just trying to be comfortable.
And what about in Seattle? Where's your favorite place there? Just your neighborhood, or do you like to go somewhere else?
So I'm lucky. I live right by, there's this paved kind of rail to trail here called the Burke-Gilman Trail, which runs about 40 miles. So I'm just up the street from that. So I run on the Burke-Gilman a lot. But then we've got some amazing parks out here. Cougar Mountain is, maybe it's a half hour outside of the city. And it's pretty technical trail in terms of the climbing and everything. So I really like that. Again, I'm getting older, so anything I can do to get off the roads for me. And then I live by University of Washington, so there's a lot of good running right around there as well. So yeah, we're pretty spoiled here in Seattle. Within the city, there's a lot of good parks. There's this one park, Discovery Park, that again, really, really great place to run. So yeah, we're lucky here.
No humidity.
Yeah. The two times that I've been out to Symposium, I forgot my sunglasses both times, and it hasn't mattered. So.
Yeah, it's somebody said it's January here right now. So it hasn't, like, the weekend was pretty miserable. Today's nice, but yeah, we've had a couple rough days.
Let's get into some good stuff here. The other stuff. We could probably do a whole podcast on this question alone, but we'll get just kind of your overview. We've talked about this with the last couple people, just kind of watching Last Dance, and it was such a production, and it was so like hyped up that, you know, they're like, oh, this they started ads for this like around Christmas, and it was going to come out in June. And then when everything got canceled, they were like, well, ESPN's got to bring this up, like just release it now. And so we all need it right now. And even that they did the 2 episodes at a time, people were like, release it all right now. We want to watch it all right now. So as a Carolina guy and a Knicks fan, I know you were watching it. So what was your overarching thoughts on Last Dance?
Yeah, it's an unpopular opinion. So yes, I'm a Carolina grad. So the Jordan at Carolina stuff made me misty-eyed. Anything with Coach Smith, I get very emotional about. But The Last Dance as a whole, there was not a lot of new stuff. As someone who like grew up living on 90s basketball and devoured as much literature and media as I could, the behind the scenes footage was super cool. And like, you know, him bullshitting with like the security guards was super fun. But there wasn't a whole lot of newness. And it was just such a pro Jordan thing that there were many topics I wanted a little more, I guess, like a little more truthful look into. So, I mean, listen, I watched all 10 episodes. I enjoyed the hell out of it. But if I could do it all over again, I'd probably wring a little bit more truth out of some of the segments.
I was reading, I think it was Howard Bryant put out like a really, really long article on ESPN the other day about like his thoughts. He's been like holding it back this whole time, and he just released it and was like, there were so many people that they submitted interview requests for that they declined to interview because they just basically said like, no, this is MJ's thing. Just, you know, let him do it. And, you know, I don't want to interfere with that story. But I feel like like you said, there's a lot of stuff that didn't make the cut or wasn't even included in possibly making the cut. But there could be an opportunity for another one there, I think.
Yeah, like the shit they didn't show, you know, in the real world, we would show that. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I got to get your favorite recurring Seinfeld character outside of the big four. And I've got a power ranking of the top 5. So I want to hear your thoughts first.
Recurring character.
So anything other than Jerry, George, Elaine, or Kramer?
Does like Steinbrenner count?
See, I was curious about that. I didn't include him on my list, but he's got to be. I'll allow it.
That was so Steinbrenner was good. No, let me. Oh boy. No. Bob Sacamano. I don't know that you ever meet him, but he's pretty integral from like a plot line perspective.
Yep.
Oh boy. I should have prepared for this more. Mr. Pitt.
Yeah.
He was pretty good. Oh boy.
Let me give you my power 5, and you can pick it apart. Top seed, very, very far and away top seed for me is Frank Costanza. And then after that, you can pretty much put these 4 in any order, but I would go with Peterman, Putty, Mickey, and Mr. Kruger.
Mr. Kruger. I'm laughing just thinking about this. Yeah, I mean, Frank Costanza was pretty iconic. I thought about him, and I actually felt like it was like too cliche to say. So, yeah, but I mean, then how do you leave out Estelle? You know, like they feel like a package deal to me. I don't know, Morty Seinfeld. You know who it is? I got you, Jack Klompus. I love Jack Klompus. Every episode with him and the astronaut pen, Del Boca Vista. Yeah, Jack Klompus. Done.
Nice. So a few years back, you got to go to Italy, and I think you may have gone a couple other places in Europe. What was the best Italian food you had on your trip? And where was it?
So after 13 years at Brooks, you get a sabbatical. So I couldn't take it after my 13th year. So I took it after my 14th. So it was last July. So I took 5 weeks off. And what a difference a year makes, let me tell you something, as I stand on the precipice of July this year. It's fresh in my memory. So my wife and I did 10 days in Italy. I'll be honest with you, it's so cliche to say like, oh, you don't have a bad meal over there. Like if you just stay to what they're good at, you're not going to have a bad meal. So like you just do wine, coffee, pasta, pizza, you're good. It's when you stray outside of that you're probably gonna suffer. I'm trying to think. We did like 5 days in Rome and then 5 days on the Amalfi Coast, and there was so much good food. So I very much enjoyed myself in Italy. I had an immense amount of pasta, and I carb loaded for like 14 days and didn't run a step. So it was great. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, sorry, I was muted for a second. My children were getting a little loud out there, so I didn't want to interrupt the Italy story. But I have to know about the wine because I love wine. So do you and your wife drink red wine, white wine? Did you drink a combination of things? What was the best glass or bottle of wine that you had in Italy?
Yeah, see, this is terrible. I didn't write anything down. Red wine, we're very spoiled being in the Northwest. So like Oregon and Washington have very good wine. So what we tried to do over there was kind of get as local as possible, right? And sort of like just kind of like whatever was kind of like regional and kind of made sense. So, but yeah, again, it was like the pasta and the pizza. It was sort of like I was kind of out of decisions when I was over there, and it was like if you tell me it's good, I'll enjoy it, and that was kind of the right mentality to have. So yeah, it was good.
So back home, if you had to choose one food for the rest of your life, you could only between these two, tacos or pizza. And you can change up the toppings and like it can be different, with each meal or whatever, but which one is it?
It's just pizza. Yeah.
Yep.
And I love tacos, but it's there's definitely like good pizza, like really good pizza.
Mm-hmm.
And there's enough varieties of pizza that I think you can get some, mix it up a little bit.
So I think we're split on this because you and John are on pizza and Katie and I are on Team Tacos.
Yes. But I feel the same way about tacos. Like there's so many different ways that you can make a taco that probably wouldn't get sick of it. But
there's
like
no wrong
pizza
choices
too.
here. It's okay.
No,
there's really not.
I mean, in an ideal world, we could just do both and just be pizza or tacos all the time. And, that would be even better.
It'd be a great restaurant, just split down the middle,
You sit over here for tacos, you sit over here for pizza.
Boom.
You could have hashtags like Team Taco, Team Pizza, and then it's a whole thing.
That's why he's in marketing.
Do that.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
The whole campaign.
So I have there's a craft beer subscription service called Tavour. I stopped doing it for a while, and I started doing it again. So I'm able to get random craft can releases from across the country. I had a can from Fremont the other night, and I thought I ordered 3 of them, but I only ordered 2 of them. So I was going to save the Fremont beer to show you tonight, but alas, I drank 2 of 2 instead of 2 of 3. So all that set aside, what's your go-to beverage in the great city of Seattle?
So this was another, I would say, COVID sort of moment. So there's a brewery out here, Georgetown Brewery. They're kind of like the original craft brewer of Seattle. I'm sure your listeners will correct me for being wrong there, but they're they're an old school craft brewery, and their flagship beer is mayonnaise, and they've never canned it. Only get mayonnaise on draft. And obviously bars and restaurants were closed here for a really long time. And so they did a special release. They canned it. They gave all the proceeds to bar and restaurant workers. And it was like a real moment. And so I, like a real degenerate, they opened at 10 a.m. It was like the launch day. I was there at about 9:30 to get in line. And you could only buy 5 cases. Was the limit. I bought 3. I felt like I was really responsible. And so now I've got just an immense amount of Manny's in my house. And it's been great to have it at home because you couldn't go out and get it. So it's probably been like 4 weeks now. It's just been, rolling in Manny's. So it's been interesting, but yeah, it was, so that's been one of the sort of, interesting things to come out of this.
I had, they make a beer called Johnny Utah that I got. Yeah. That's pretty good. I had one of those last night.
Yeah, their stuff's all pretty good. And so for the longest time, they didn't can anything. And then a couple of years ago, they started canning stuff. But like the Manny's We Will Never Can was sort of this you felt like it was this thing that they were built on. And so, it was interesting. So
cool. Well, I, as far as we know, the running event's still happening this year. What that looks like and if that happens and if we're able to attend, that might be something. But if we're able to attend and if things go well, we would look forward to seeing you there like we do every year. We've got a little segment here. If you've got time, you can opt out.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. So I fancy myself a good conspiracy theory. And I've been able to dig up some really random ones, and we've proposed them to some of our other guests, just to see what they think about them. So we started this year. The first one that I threw at Katie and John, I don't know if they've still recovered from it, but there's a whole group of people that believe Stevie Wonder isn't blind, and there's this whole Stevie Wonder isn't blind truther nation. And then there's been some other random ones that we picked up along the way. And but I'm going to yield my conspiracy theory crown to Katie, who found 2 interesting ones for this week.
Thank you, Pete. That really means a lot. I appreciate that. So what did you find out?
So her first one that she proposed, apparently there's a secret or not so secret chamber behind Abraham Lincoln's head on Mount Rushmore. And the conspiracy is that all this secret stuff is hidden in this chamber. Unfortunately, based on my research, doesn't seem to be a whole lot in there. Now, that could be inconclusive. So you can see it from the aerial views. It's off limits to the public, but you can see into this little chamber. There's pictures of it on the National Park Service website. And the guy that built, the architect that was in charge of building all the heads, he wanted to make this room, and they would basically have documented the whole process of here's how we built this. And we built this basically like a time capsule. And he wanted people, there was supposed to be a set of 800 stairs that you had to walk up to get to this, this chamber. And so he actually died before they finished carving the heads. And then his son took over. And then once they finished doing the heads, the government said, all right, project's over. And they were like, no, we want to keep doing this room that the guy wanted to do. And so that was the only credible information I could find. If you go to some less credible sources, which is a necessity for investigating conspiracy theories, anything from proof of aliens to information about JFK might be stashed in this room. But the fact that it's an open air room and there's no door, it's just like a big hole behind Abe Lincoln's head. And in theory, if you were able to get past the guards, you could get in that room with no problem. I'm going to go ahead and lean with the Park Service and say that there's nothing in there right now. They did say they put up some plaques about like timeline of how they built everything, but sad to say, Katie, I don't think there's a whole lot to that one.
Damn.
Yeah.
I thought there might be something really cool in there, but okay. I agree with you though. I didn't realize it was open air. I thought it was like a hidden chamber, but if it's, visible, unless that's just there to distract people from the real hidden chamber.
There could be another hidden chamber.
All of the things that you're talking about. And maybe that's why the Park Service didn't want them to keep going on the project.
They do go out of their way to say it is off limits to the public.
Wow, interesting. So I don't know. I mean, who knows? But that's good research.
Before we get to the other one, which I'm really interested to hear about, Matt, because I know you're of my generation-ish. One of the other ones we covered, Tupac, dead or no?
Yeah.
Yeah?
He's dead, yes.
See, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, and then the stuff that you found, Pete, on it made me think even more. But I don't know.
I want to believe. I do.
I think that's it. I think I want to believe that there's a sliver that it was like his stunt double who died or whatever. But I don't know. Okay. But Matt thinks yes, Tupac. What about...
what's the upside in faking it for this long?
He's playing the long game.
Good question.
Yeah, but why do it?
Time's not right to come back yet.
He's writing his next album.
He didn't want to get COVID, obviously.
He knew this was going to happen in 2020. Oh my goodness. And then the Avril Lavigne one, that Avril Lavigne, is it really Avril Lavigne? The real one died like, 15 years ago or something? What'd you say on that one, John?
Yeah, this is Avril 2.0.
Yeah, it was whenever she
her.
started getting popular.
She was actually killed in a car accident, but the studio brought in somebody else. I don't know. All right, Pete, let's hear the last one. I got to know.
All right. So, Matt, you should know that Katie is a Britney devotee, fangirl, you might say. Also kind of starred in a Zoom. It wasn't supposed to be a Zoom, but it was supposed to be an in-person, but a Britney musical-ish.
Yeah. It was like a cabaret of her music. It was supposed to be at the Orlando International Fringe Festival, but because of COVID, we filmed it instead. So I'm a big Britney fan. That's what you need to know before we hear this conspiracy theory.
So there is an interesting correlation between all of the bad things that happened during George W. Bush's presidency and Britney's life going off the rails. And there are some people that are proposing that Britney was an agent working for President Bush. And whenever things would go bad, they would just kind of make something happen in her life. So I'm looking at this article and there's like a ton of different stuff. Like in April of 2006, in a poll, Bush's approval rating was at an all-time low at 38%. The next day, they released pictures of Britney driving with her infant in her lap rather than in the car seat, and the whole nation is captivated by this. And then in 2006, the day before a midterm election, she announces that she's getting divorced from Kevin Federline, who I forgot was a person, but I guess that was a thing. And that kind of took over everything. Then in February 2007, Bush announced that Al-Qaeda was back. And the same night, Britney snuck out of rehab, shaved her head, and attacked a paparazzi van with an umbrella. There's some more stuff from 2007, and I'm just looking at pictures of her with her head shaved, and I need to get this kind of out of my wheelhouse. But basically what they're thinking is it wasn't necessarily the Bush administration, but the CIA that was actually employing her to be a distraction from everything that was going on. And there's some correlation. They said people thought during the 50s that the CIA employed Elvis and that they were using him as a kind of a distraction for other things that were going on. So I don't know where I stand on this one. There's some correlation. And here's the last thing I'm going to point out to you. I did some further digging. Britney and President George W. Bush are really, 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 really distant cousins.
I had heard that before, that they were related somehow. Like not us. Yeah.
It says here that they are 13th cousins, whatever that means.
I don't even know how you would know that someone was your 13th cousin. How do you even figure that out? That's bizarre.
They traced their lines all the way back to someone named Reverend Francis Marbury, but I don't see a born and undead date for Reverend Francis. So
okay. So Matt, unfortunately for you, you have to weigh in on this. We want to know if this is plausible, that this Britney Bush conspiracy theory is true, or do you think it's not true? We'll let you go first because you're the guest.
I'm not a big conspiracy theory believer, unfortunately. So I'm going to shoot this one down. Just feels like too many people would be involved in this over too long of a time.
But they're related.
It's true. They could have developed this at the gigantic, all the 12th and 13th cousin family reunion picnic. Who knows?
I do love the idea, though, that all of this was tied to distract the country. That Britney was an agent of the state. That's fun.
Yeah. If you think of Britney Spears as a CIA agent, you wouldn't think of just her shaving her head and going after people with an umbrella.
Yeah. I like it.
John, what's your vote?
I like the idea. I think media is used to distract people from issues that are going on still currently. So I'm down for it. Maybe Britney being employed by someone in relation to this is maybe a little bit further out there, but we'll go with it.
Yeah, there's a very high level. This could easily be a series of coincidences that her life was just an absolute train wreck when things weren't going so good for W. But
and I mean, what does it say about the American public if this really was a thing that worked? Even the Elvis thing, let's just have people get divorced and check out a rehab and have addiction. That we as Americans are so easily distracted by those things.
Look at the flashing light.
Right. I think that still stands even now. Lately, I feel like people have been having deeper conversations surrounding things. I don't know if that's from being home or COVID or what, but so that's good to see. But it does seem like we tend to know so much more about popular culture than maybe actual things that really impact our lives. But anyway, I'm going to say that it's not true. I think it was just a bad period that aligned with Bush's term. But thanks for looking into that, though.
It sounded like Matilda didn't like it either because she barked and left.
Yeah, sorry about that. She was fast asleep, and then something must have. Before you got on that, I was telling them that my dog was in with me, my puppy, because if she's outside the door, she's louder because she's scratching and crying and headbutting the door. So she was in here with me the whole time. She almost made it all the way through. And then I just kicked her out. Well, Matt, it has been really awesome to have you on. And thanks for sharing everything, especially from home. We appreciate it. We know this is evening for you and your family. So spending time with us and our listeners really means a lot. So thank you for being on the show.
Denver Airport, next conspiracy theory for you. If
We
you haven't
talked
done
about that too.
We did talk about that one too. Yeah.
That one I would have been all in on.
Okay.
Well, tell them what you found, Pete.
So you've looked into this?
I mean, I fly in and out of Denver a good amount, and like I was talking to someone there once, and just whatever, and they brought it up to me, and now I'm like fascinated by it. So I'm all in on that one.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Chalk one up for
The airport's in
Denver
the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like I'm big in that you want to plan ahead. Like now, maybe make this 4-lane highway 6 lanes, but like that, like there's so much of it that's just so weird. So.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that one's like a definite strange one.
Yeah.
But so thanks.
No problem. Thank you guys.
Yeah,
this
thanks
fun.
for being on. And for everyone who's listening, you can listen to this episode of Run Brevard and past episodes wherever you listen and at runbrevard.com. And you can watch our past social distancing episodes on our YouTube channel and at runbrevard.com. And hopefully we'll see you all at the Firecracker 5K and at all 7 of Running Zone Foundation series races coming up. And be sure you're following Run Brevard on social media. That's at Run Brevard on Twitter and Instagram. And we have our Run Brevard group that's on Running Zone's page. And also, if you like listening to the show, leave us a 5-star review. We appreciate it. That's a great way to show us some appreciation. And hopefully we'll all get to see you in person again soon. And thanks again, Matt.
Take care.
Sweet.
Bye.
Thank you.